It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome. We're back with the original camera this week after using the phone last week due to the emergency that happened. It turned out it was all down to the heat. It was the hottest June down record, I believe, in Britain the day that I was filming this. It was about 35 degrees in here, and it just drained the battery quicker than it normally did. So by the time I'd set everything up and started recording, it just shut the camera down. We had to switch to the phone. And we could have carried on with the phone, but I like the fact that this camera is the one that I started all the way back Series 1 with. So it's almost 10 years old. But I like the fact that all episodes of the Daylight Midnight Show, give or take a couple where we've had problems, have all been done on the same camera. And I'm not normally nostalgic or sentimental, but I like the way that feels. Maybe you'd like to tell me whether you prefer the look and sound of last week to this, and I might start recording more of them on a mobile phone from now on. But let's get on with this week's show then, with thought for the day / thought for the week. Something that's popped in my head that I've written down, and I'll reveal it to you on a Friday. This is this week's. I'm worried I'm starting to look like Jeremy Clarkson. I noticed this just scrolling back through the channel, the little thumbnails, especially episode 1, I think it was, of this series. Now, we all look different as we get older. Some of us age better than others. I wouldn't say Jeremy Clarkson in particular has improved with age, and I'm worried that I'm going the same way. Nothing against the guy. I mean, you know, I would just never have anything done surgically or chemically to stop the aging process. I admire him for not doing the same. I do think he's starting to look like an old man's scrotum. That's all I'm saying about that, and I don't want to go the same way. So let's do our snake of the week. Now, warning in advance, I don't think this is a very good picture at all. The idea with this is that my drawings are going to get better as the weeks go by, but I'm just going to show you and then I'll try and explain what happened. Well, see, my reasoning last week, if you remember, was that if I start concentrating on particular bits of the snake week on week, then hopefully I can put it all together. So I thought, let's go for the head and neck this week. And then it didn't go how I wanted, so I tried to cover it up with an additional bit of drawing. And this is what we've ended up with. So this is our snake of the week. I mean, the proportions are all wrong. It looks like it's leaning up towards the camera. I don't know. I've been told it looks more like a dinosaur or a lizard, and I can understand that. The worrying thing about this is I was trying to copy a drawing of an actual snake. It was a very colourful snake, so I did think, do I colour this in? But I've noticed from doing colouring before that it doesn't help, it makes it look a bit too cartoonish. So I'm just going to put it on the Door of Delights, and I might start next week by adding some colour to see if it improves it as a kind of indicator to me of whether the colour would improve things. I'm quite pleased with what I've done with those little plants at the bottom. But my idea was when the head and neck started going wrong, I thought, well, I'll make it look like he's coming out from behind a plant. But then the dimensions are all right. I mean, the perspective is all over the place. It's an absolute mess, quite frankly. You know, they're not all going to be a winner, and maybe it is still an improvement on last week's. But we'll put it up anyway, and I'll have another go at it last week. I think what I need to do, and I keep saying this, I need to buy some proper pencils, because I've got these thick felt tips, so if I am going to colour it in, it's all going to look the same colour. I'll put that up later. I'll do that a bit later on because it's going to take up too much time. So I'm going to put that up on the Door of Delights. There, ready to be our snake of the week. I'm just not happy with it at all. I'm not happy with it at all. I need to spend more time with these things, and I need to look up some proper techniques. And what I was using was one of these multicoloured pens you might remember from your youth. Now, having confessed last week about accidentally stealing stuff, I then did this big corporate event and accidentally helped myself to a few of these pens because I do like them and they are handy, and that's what I was using. But with the bulkiness of the pen, it's not so easy to get defined. Anyway, I've spent too much time talking about that one, so let's just place last week's up on what I believe we're calling the White Wall of Wonders behind me. But I did realise this week, to break a little bit of information about the show, this is a fridge freezer that I'm sitting there. And I believe the word for a snake is ophidian, so we could call it the Ophidian fridge freezer, just to keep that alliteration going. So let's put that there. I realise we are running out of space on here as well. I reckon another week and this is going to be full. So we either start overlapping them, or I start taking the first one down and replacing it with the later one. See, I still think the first one might be one of the best. Let's get off the snakes, for goodness sakes. We've talked about them for too long. So, weird news from my weird life. Last week I talked about walking down the street in my underpants because I'd forgotten that I came in the heat and took my shorts off and just went out. Sorry to anyone that lives locally. But it did remind me of another story, and I can't remember if I've shared it on this show before or not. I think I might have done. but it's quite a good one, so I'll tell it quickly now. My wife and I used to live in a very secluded cottage, so there was no other houses around it, but there was a main road that ran the other side of the hedge. But we had quite a high hedge, and one summer's afternoon I just decided to lay in the back garden naked, because why wouldn't I? No one's going to see me, I'm not going to get in any trouble, it's my garden, I'm going to get a tan all over, I'm just going to go for it. But then my wife got dropped off from the bus, and I'd forgotten, because she'd got to know the bus driver because she used the bus quite often, he agreed to drop her off right outside our house so she didn't have to walk 200 yards from the bus stop. And on this particular day there was a double-decker bus. The top deck of the double-decker was just above the level of our hedge, and there was a group of old ladies who had all been out for lunch together who were sitting on the top deck. So I heard it, I opened my eyes to see these 8 horrified women with blue rinsed hair staring at me over the hedge, me laying there in all my glory as God intended. I believe there's a support group that they all go to, they're all being treated for PTSD, but I got a nice all over tan on my privates, so I'm not going to feel too bad about that. What else has happened this week then? What have I written on here? One thing, bumping into someone at a corner who acted like I'd pounced on her from behind a lamppost. Yeah, it was just kind of an observation and a little bit of news from my life. If you imagine this is the corner of a building on a pavement, and this is the other corner, I was walking this way, this other woman was walking that way, and we happened to meet right on the corner, so we literally bumped into each other. Now, that can happen, right? There's no mirrors up, you can't see around the corner, it's brick, not a glass building, so we walked into each other, so my reaction was just, whoops, sorry. Her reaction was literally like I just leapt out from a doorway, pulled a knife and tried to push her in front of a car. It was an unbelievable overreaction. Whether it came from embarrassment about what had happened, being taken by surprise, I don't know, but I don't think I needed the level of anger and abuse that I got coming back my way. And I thought there's 2 ways I can play this. Either I meet fire with fire and I have a go at her, we shout at each other and go our separate ways. Or I can just go, it happened, I'm sorry, and walk away, which is exactly what I chose to do. But I could hear her still muttering to herself as she went away, and I thought, just give yourself a break. And it happened a bit later as well. As I was pulling out of my drive the other day, someone ran past who was jogging and had her headphones on. So she was on the pavement, I was coming out of my drive, and I didn't get any nearer than 6 feet to her, but I think I made her jump, that as she came along, couldn't hear a thing, suddenly noticed my car, panicked, but again, looked at me through the window and started having a go at me. So my message to the people around the area where I live is, can we all just calm down a little bit? We're all just human beings on our own journey. No one's way is more important than the other person's. Wherever you're going, it's not more important than where I'm going. You're not more important than me, so let's just give each other a bit of a break. And I understand that I upset people by walking through town just wearing my underpants, but that was accidental. I'm looking for other properties in other towns. And that's just about it from this week. So let's get on with our taste test then. Now, as you remember, last week, the colander of culinary chance gave me a break from fish tastes and gave me crackers, mustard and ginger. So let's push this down so you can see what I am about to do. We have sea salt and black pepper crackers, a brand new jar of English mustard and ground ginger. Now, last week I said I thought it should be fresh ginger. But I thought about it, and actually I really like fresh ginger. I will cut it up into slices and put it in glasses of water as a nice refreshing drink. I use it in cooking, I like to eat it. So the whole point of this is that it's not necessarily going to be a nice experience. And I think ground ginger, we haven't got anything else with the texture of this. So I thought for the purposes of this whole piece, it would be nice to have something like ground ginger. So I've bought some of that. So this is, if I turn it over, there'll be more purchase for the mustard. So this is brand new. I do like, oh God, that's a really strong taste. I can't go too mad with this because I don't know how strong this one is. It's a brand that I haven't had before, but I think we have to give it a decent amount. So there's the English mustard going on. Now let's give that a nice little covering of ground ginger. That needs. In fact, let's go for the bigger opening. What the heck? Right, okay. So there's coming out in clumps. So that's going to be, oh no, that's far too big a bit to have on there. Oh, go on, let's grind it in. Okay, so there we go, let's try this then. So let's put the lid on that so we don't have the issue last week with that fish paste that went everywhere. And my flat still stunk of it 5 days later. Thank you very much, Colander of Culinary Chance. So here we go. So this is a sea salt and black pepper cracker with a good helping of English mustard and a very good helping of ground ginger on it. Bottoms up. Wow, well, it's potent. Woo! I mean, woo! Wow. I've been feeling the slight return of hay fever this week. That's cleared the sinuses, it's cleared the brain. Wow, that is something else. That is something else. I think the phrase over-seasoned might come in that from culinary terms. Woo! That is like an injection of something. I feel I've just drunk about 60 cups of coffee. So it's very unusual. I may have overdone it, but as a combination of tastes, that would be a yes. And I don't think we've had a yes in this feature so far. So I'm really pleased with that. I don't think I'll make any more. I'll tell you what, that wakes you up. I don't know if you can still buy smelling salts, but they used to have them in first aid kits. So if you were feeling a little bit faint, you'd have a big whiff of this jar of ammonia and it would just do that to you. That is exactly what that was like, but in the mouth. Wow, I feel like I could record another 7 shows back to back. So let's work out what I'm going to do next week then. So there are 32 separate food ingredients in here, including mustard, crackers and ginger, because every week they all go back in. There's something like 26, 29 different thousand different combinations that I can have. For some reason the horrible ones keep coming out, so whatever 3 I pick out of here, I have to eat together next week. It will be a boiled egg, so that will be a hard boiled egg that I've let cool down. So a boiled egg, alongside that we will also have ingredient number 2, which will be bread. So effectively so far I'm having an egg sandwich, which sounds very nice. Let's see what what ingredient 3 is. Cold baked beans. Okay, so it's sort of a breakfast sandwich but with a weird twist. So I've got to boil an egg, eat it on a bit of bread with some cold baked beans. Doesn't sound like that's going to be too unpleasant on the senses. The important question is, will it work as a piece of culinary delight? We will find out about this time next week. That's what I've done, all I wanted to do. I don't want to look at that snake because it's just making me feel terrible. I'm going to buy some pencils, maybe some felt tips, some colouring pencils, something like that. I'm waffling because I can't remember what I was going to say at the end of the show. So I will leave it there. Have a great I'll see you next week. Have a great 7 days. And if you're training for a marathon, or if you're about to play an important sports game, maybe have the crackers with the mustard and ginger, because it will really fire you up. Your heart's going to race, the adrenaline's going to flow, and your brain is going to be completely focused. See you next week. Have a great 7 days. Whew.